Hey there, welcome back to Plow and Pantry. I'm Alicia, and today I am actually putting up some footage that's a few weeks old. I just never got it edited into a video. This is from about early in the last week of August, so about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago. I had prepped another bed for fall vegetables that I had started, and I started the day by getting most of these into the ground. There are still some that aren't in the ground because I ran out of space to put things in places because I didn't finish prepping the last of my beds. That if you watch my garden tour, you know I've got like a quadrant of raised beds that's overgrown with weeds. But this area I had ready, and what I'm putting in here is mostly things like, they're all brassicas. They're like cabbage and some broccoli, and I think I had 1 row of kale in there. I need to add some more kale. And some of the cauliflower, things that take up a lot of space, so I'm kind of spacing them farther apart. And in interest of full disclosure, the heat, as much as I kept this watered after I planted it, the heat actually killed off. We had crazy late heat. It was real intense, and it killed a lot of things. And this was about half this bed got killed off, and that actually was okay because I had more plants that I had started that I didn't have a place for, so I went and refilled some of those. And we'll see. Right now, all that stuff is still doing well, and it's starting to grow. So that's the good thing about that. But I did get this stuff in the ground, and I was just using some Biotone Starter in the holes there with it and get it watered in. And then I moved over to my potato area. I was looking for another spot to put some of those seedlings I started. So one of my sections of potatoes, the section with the Huckleberry Gold, was ready to dig up. When you're the part of your potato plant that's above the ground, when it turns brown and dies back, that's when it's ready to harvest the potatoes. So my other 2 types that I planted aren't ready yet, but these Huckleberry Golds were ready. They were overgrown with weeds as well. I always try to weed early on before the sprouts get too big, but eventually you get to where you're kind of disturbing the potato plants when some of these big weeds come up, and so I end up letting them grow until I harvest them. So I went through one direction, just pulling up the weeds, and occasionally came across a potato right there. Occasionally came across potato and set it aside, but mostly my point at this part was just to get the weeds out of the way, and then I came back in the other direction, digging up the actual potatoes themselves. The Huckleberry Golds, I should mention also, I do love them. They taste great, but they are not as productive as some other potato plants are. I never get very many. I still grow them because I love them, but I never get all that many. I think by the end of this one, I give you a shot. I've got a small bucket that's about half full, and that was, I don't know, 1 bag of seed potatoes. It was a small bag of seed potatoes. I forget the size, maybe like 2 pounds. I don't know. I did have to go back with the pitchfork. I had been trying to just do it by hand with my Cobra head, and I was doing well, but I needed to widen the area that I was searching for the potatoes in. The weeds kind of grew straight down the middle, but the potatoes branch out a little bit. So I went back with a pitchfork, kind of gently trying to get a little bit past where I thought the potatoes would be so I didn't accidentally stab potatoes. And I just kind of loosened up the dirt there so I could go back through and kind of look in a little more square footage for more of the potatoes that I had dug up. And then I brought over my seedlings and got some of them into this area, so I had this open space. I think I put all sprouting broccolis here, like sprouting purple broccoli, sprouting green broccoli, aspa those ones that are more like baby broccolini types. And I put them over here. I think I got most of those in this little space. I think I put 2 rows here, and that just gave me a little more planting space for my fall crops. I still have almost a flat of seedlings that need to go in the ground. At this point, I'm not sure they're going to get there, but at least we'll have some of our favorites, which my husband's favorite is the sprouting broccoli, so that will get in the ground. And hopefully it'll be fully grown before the first frost and we can harvest it. I like to harvest my fall crops right after the first or second frost, or at least if it's a light frost. I feel like it always makes things a little sweeter, especially carrots, but broccoli and all the brassicas too just seem better after a little bit of cold weather. Not frozen yet, but cold weather. So after I went in and showered and had lunch, I was busy with some food preservation projects. I had picked some tomatoes before I went in and some pimento peppers and some zucchini. And I'm just doing right here, I'm just blanching tomatoes so that I can can them. I do have a separate video on how I do this so that you can see that. I will link it if you want to see how I can my tomatoes. But these are just straight up diced tomatoes that go in the water bath canner. And I'm just getting off the skins and the seeds out and dicing them, getting them in jars and into the canner. Then I need to get the rims wiped and rings on, and then I get them in the water bath canner. And then while those are going, I get started on the pimentos, which again, I did a separate video on this day. I turned that one in a separate video of how I can my pimentos, and I'm so excited to have them this year to make my own pimento cheese, but I will link that video as well for you. I do blister those skins so that I can steam them in a bowl and then remove the skins so that they are not bitter or tough when I can them. And pimentos I chop mine, put them in small jars just like you buy in the store, and they do get pressure canned, not water bath canned. And so I got those into the pressure canner. And once those went in, it was time to pull the tomatoes out of the water bath canner. So I have those cooling on the counter, and I think I got like 7 pints done this day. Not a huge batch, but not a tiny one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Yeah, there was a shot. So then I decided with my zucchini that I would make some chocolate zucchini bread. This is a recipe that is in my cookbook, which is always linked below. And I just got started on that. This recipe makes 2 loaves, which is nice because I saved one for breakfast, like an easy breakfast the next morning, and then froze one for a breakfast some later morning. And as much as I have frozen shredded zucchini this year, which you may have seen if you watch my Every Bit Counts challenge videos, I do that for zucchini bread in the winter, but I had not yet made it in the summer. So I went ahead and made one recipe of it, which like I said is 2 loaves. It was food prep and breakfast the next day all in one. While that was baking, I did feel a little bit tired. I guess I had a lot of energy this day because I'm looking back, I'm like, I got a lot done. But I felt tired at that point, and so I sat down for a few minutes while the zucchini bread was baking and crocheted a granny square. I used to crochet when I was young, and then I didn't do it. I haven't done it for like 20 some years other than to teach my daughters. And I just taught them the basics. But I looked up a YouTube video and restarted granny squares, and I was figuring, I don't know what I'm going to do with those yet. My daughter kind of wants now a granny square sweater. I guess it's actually in style. And my thought was to start just doing 1 or 2 granny squares a day, and that if I did that, then after a month or 2, I might have enough squares for a sweater or a project, or even if I just do 1 or 2 squares a day after a year, I'd have enough for a blanket. Who knows? I don't know yet what I'm going to do with these, but I sat for a minute and made 1 or 2 granny squares, and then it was time to pull the pimentos out of the pressure canner. And while they were cooling on the counter, I did have some beans I wanted to get canned. They were dry beans from my pantry that were getting older. I didn't want them to get hard. Beans don't last as long in the pantry as some things like rice. They do get hard and you can't soften them no matter what you do. So I put a couple of jars together of just dry beans using my no-soak method. I can link that video for you too. It's not an approved method, but in my video explain why and what I do. And I got those into my canner as well. So that actually made 3 different canning projects this day. I feel like that's a lot for one day, even if they were all kind of small batches. But I got those in the canner, and then I decided that I've been wanting this artichoke dip that I haven't had in a long time. And I know that I like it filling my small red snacking peppers that come out of the garden, and I have a bunch of those that I need to use up. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and make that artichoke dip right now. So I got out the artichokes. It's a very simple recipe that does not actually use real measurements. I did not want to chop my artichokes, so I was using scissors to cut them right there. Both my cutting boards, my plastic ones, were in the dishwasher at the moment, so I just snipped them up with right in the bowl there with kitchen scissors. And it just uses some garlic powder, some mayonnaise, a bunch of Parmesan cheese. Just mix it together, put it in a pie plate, and bake it. And it is delicious, bubbly goodness. And I was so excited to have this. I hate it with chips too, but I really, really like it on these red peppers. And it's a great way to use up those red peppers. If you have a lot of little tiny snacking peppers, just stuff them. The cool thing about snacking peppers is most of them don't have a lot of seeds. And so you can stuff them easily or not have to mess with pulling a bunch of stuff out. You can just slice them and stuff them, which I love to do. I love to do it so much that I couldn't wait, and I was tasting this while it was super hot and burning my mouth, but was just enjoying something that I have missed and wanted to make a while and haven't had in several years. So I enjoyed this stringy cheese goodness hanging down and all that. And then not much long after that was time to get the beans out of the canner, and that was pretty much the end of my energy that day. Thank you guys for spending your precious time with me today. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe so you can get notifications when I come out with new videos, and I hope to see you guys soon on another one. Have a great day.